I don't think I've ever been as excited as I am currently about anything that I have ever done. And as many of you know me, I get pretty excited about a lot of things. And as an individual and a business person, I see many challenges in our world today. Some we can do not much about. Most we can do much not about. But sometimes, through the grace of God and through your background and your team, something special can happen. And that's what's happening now. And I'm going to weave into this, so just bear with me. So if we go, how many here have any idea what goes on in esports in life? Wow. I'm really going to teach you guys something. Okay? First I'm going to talk about, go ahead, let's go. The guy down here on the right, Adam, where are you? Stand up, Adam. Adam was one of our newest analysts, and he took some 60-year-old guy to Brooklyn, New York. That would be the guy in the blue that didn't have a beard at the time, okay? To Brooklyn, New York, to go to the Overwatch Finals. That's only one game out of all video games. The Overwatch Finals in Brooklyn, New York, at the Barclays Center, where you could not fit Audrey in there. Audrey, where are you? Audrey's about this big, okay? I read about it, I researched it, I did all this stuff, really thought I understood it, until I went to this eSports, kind of their World Series. But I gotta emphasize, this is just one game, one.
After things got a little hairy with the doses, that still coming back to London needs to make the most of the two support ultimates they are going to have for maintenance.
Screens everywhere, everything's going. And it became very clear to me that what I thought I knew, and I did, and it happens to us all the time in research. It's why you go. That's why you kick the tires. That's why you go places. You don't really know till you experience the firm at their place, any of this stuff. You can't read about certain things. You got to participate. If you see those screens, so I had just been prior to the Eagles-Minnesota game, and this is the analogy I give. In the Minnesota game, which is the NFC Championship, Kirk Cousins goes back. He goes to throw a pass. The Eagles are about ready to crush him. And the crowd goes nuts. He throws the pass. It gets intercepted. The crowd goes even more wild. All of a sudden, he's still on his feet, and he's running towards the end zone. The crowd's going absolutely nuts. He scores a touchdown, and it's an explosion like you've never heard. Your ears hurt, your body's pumped. Everything is just... It's one of the greatest, I was with my kids, it was one of the coolest times I've ever had, all right? They're doing the exact same thing in this space. They had that. Adam was there, he'll tell you. I said, Adam, they're going bonkers. This is great. The hair was standing up on my arm. I had no idea what it was for. None. Even after he tried to explain it to me.
We get calls all the time from viewers and tweets saying, oh, what about esports? Mm-hmm. What names do you love right now that might be a real opportunity?
There's a lot of names. Let me get back up and say, I was talking about the time that we got together, and just prior that we were back then, I had gone to watch Steve Jobs give the initial, iPhone demonstration. Very impressive. I was very happy to be there. Mm-hmm. And that was one of those moments that you always remember. It's kind of a wow moment.
Oh, yeah.
The other wow moment I had, that was in San Francisco. The other wow moment I had when you came and presented at the Emerald Groundhog Day Forum. Yeah. And the third wow moment, and I've had others, but the third wow moment was this weekend. I was in Brooklyn. I went to the Overwatch Championships of eSports.
Oh, that's a hot game.
There might be a picture of me there somewhere that your producers have. And I can tell you that much like when I saw the iPhone for the first time, mm-hmm. I read about it, I saw it, all these things I knew about, but until you actually touched and felt and saw what was going on, you couldn't. And that's what's happened with eSports. eSports is this tsunami that people are totally underestimating because the average money manager is about 51 years old. Okay, doesn't really get it. I was watching it. I didn't know what was happening, but they were going nuts.
Why do we get involved in charity? Sometimes you got to ask that. Makes you feel good. You're guilted into it, whatever. But sometimes you do it because it's the right thing to do from a business perspective, to make sure that our next generation has it as good, if not better than us. And we lived in a messed up world right now. And they need our leadership and our thoughts more today than they ever did. So I want you to pay attention to this very, very closely, because I think this will show you what I saw several years ago. And after I've been working on this, and this is just about a 3-month-old, 4-month-old tape, when they saw that, it was like an aha moment for me. So go ahead.
Let's talk a little bit about that. I mean, what is it from your perspective that is causing us to be in this place where the economy is growing, but for the last 30 years, Americans really haven't seen the wage gains that they'd like to see? Could you just lay out, not in any way to take responsibility at the Fed solely yourself, but what is driving that?
You know, it's the stagnation of middle-class incomes, the relatively low mobility that we have, the disappointing level of wages over a long period of time. It's all of a piece, and it all does go to that. And I think the causes of these things are really deep. It's not something we can address really successfully over time with monetary policy, as you say. So I mean, I think it's,
what are those deep causes?
So I think you know, part of it is, in our case, in the case of the United States, stagnation of educational achievement, the leveling out of educational attainment.
Guys, we all know this. We are not reaching our kids in a way. When we went to school, we challenged our team. Why am I learning this? Why am I learning that? But our parents said, go there and learn. The kids today don't do that. They don't get it, they don't like it, and we're losing them. The educational stagnation that is happening in the United States is being told to you by the Fed chair as the problem why we don't have wage growth, why we don't have why we have a drug problem, all of these different things. He talked about root causes. So my goodness, if I and our foundation could do something to change that, something to address that, how great would that be? So 2 or 3 years ago, this was really on my mind. I had started to work on a thing, eSports and STEM. How many of you guys know what STEM is in the education side? And it wasn't being talked about, okay? Because it didn't really fit nicely into the STEM package. And I was a national trustee for the Boys and Girls Club, and I went to all these different things, and you guys know with my temperament, I don't have time for that kind of stuff. It just drives me crazy. They push the ball, they fight about stupid stuff. It's kind of like watching Congress every day. So GSV Capital, Mike Moe, the guy that speaks here most of the time, has a big conference, an educational conference in San Diego. And I think the first time we went there were a couple hundred people, and we've been going for years, 10 years. And now, I think it had 4,500 people, 5,000, and they had their own division for the Chinese, right? And we're trying to learn about how we can change education so that we can reach and make our country and our kids better and thrive. So I had this idea, and I'd worked on it, and I had Nate Jones, Dr. Jones, I had my son, I had Joe Garner, I had Derek Fisher, I had all these people helping me with research and doing stuff, and I thought I was pretty hot stuff. I thought I knew more about this than just about anybody. So I started to get these emails from the Tiger Woods Foundation that said that they were going to be at this conference. Well, I had already signed up, but I had already told them I couldn't go. But I was so interested in what they were doing that I actually left at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was going to come back 3 o'clock in the afternoon from San Diego. That's how important I thought this was. When I walked in, there was only 3 people from the Tiger Woods Foundation and 2 people from the Samueli Foundation. Anybody know who the Samuelis are? Anybody? Go ahead. Right, founder, right, founder of Broadcom, who was already wealthy when he started Broadcom, so when he put it together, he made a lot of money. And their foundation has not millions, but billions, okay? And they were there because they felt it was so important to tell people what they were doing. And what they were doing is they're putting a program together that had started 4 or 5 years before, where the Obama administration was looking out at other countries to say what type of outcomes, they're getting better outcomes. Why? What can we learn from these countries And one of the things they found out was this weird connection between great performance and outcomes and the kids that were playing eSports. So the Obama administration hired this woman that you're going to see in a second called Dr. Constance Steinkuhler. She was one of the two people at this thing. And pretty quickly, when I walked in there thinking like Mighty Mouse, all right, or King Kong, actually, because I thought I knew a lot, it was pretty clear to me within about 5 minutes that I was Minnie Mouse. I was like this big. That these people had done such an unbelievable amount of work that the Samueli Foundation took it over from the government when Obama left and continued the research that they were doing on the effects of organized eSports in clubs and then going to curriculums and really reaching in interest learning kids at a level of something they want. Anybody want to take a guess at what percent of kids, and it goes all the way into the 20s, like video games? 91%. 91%. So I might miss 9%, but 91% have a high interest in video games. So I started to listen to what I thought was this unbelievable opportunity to reach a kid that we couldn't reach through any other method. Sports, music, art, they each are smaller percentages of that. And that's what we sat down and talked about. Albert Einstein said, creativity is intelligence having fun. This is creative as anything. It's intelligence as anything. And you mix the fun in with this. And it's a grand slam. Bigger than that. Go ahead. Next slide. Video games score points. This is now. This isn't years ago. This is now. They are now scoring points with teachers and learning about the academic benefits. Nobody like us has told them necessarily. We're starting to, but they're finding this out on their own. Games like these help develop social and emotional skills while teaching traditional components like English, physics, math. That comes from Gerald Solomon. And what they started at the time, they had all this information. Constance came in and worked with the Samueli Foundation. She put a team together, probably 10 people on the team, and they had all this information. And very unlike them, they decided to act without a plan. And they developed the Orange County eSports League as a pilot to test out this theory that they had. Needless to say, and luckily for me, it was after that meeting, I was invited as an unpaid consultant. And I went to a 7-hour meeting, no breaks. You could get up and go to the bathroom. You could go get your food, but they went on for 7 hours. All the way from the director of education for the state of California down to the kids and everything in between. And this wasn't a success. This was not even close to a success. This was a blockbuster beyond your belief success. And I'm happy to say that I actually had some of them to deal with a little bit of the architecture post their pilot. Go ahead. Video game scores points with teachers on academic benefits. Same thing. When I went out there, when I was looking at this, there was one school, one, that were offering scholarships for kids in eSports. One. In less than 2 years, 81 colleges currently offer money to eSports athletes. Anybody want to guess what they're estimating will be by the end of 2019? 500. Anybody want to guess what they're estimating will be in 2020, the end of 2020? Over 1,000. That's how much of this is in the works. That's what we're getting calls. Here's the way it works. Not just kids playing games. Not just kids playing games. You got the players, but then other kids are in classes or in clubs that talk about organizers, strategy, content creator, IT support, event organizer, general managers, coaches, theory crafter, analysts. Now here comes the cool part. In these clubs, we're teaching them software development, shoutcasting. Shoutcasting is pretty much what I'm doing right now, but screaming about the game, okay? And they're not broadcasters. They actually are almost participants, okay? Streamers. How many here know what Twitch is? Okay? He works with Twitch. The money that's being made on Twitch, I don't even get into that right now. Because what happens is, and this side blows my mind, kids will watch, not TV, not the Super Bowl, not whatever. They're watching kids, other people play games, video games. They're watching it. And big money is coming out of that. Now, I have a friend in the back that's with 76 Capital, a venture capital firm. They are looking to get in the commercial side of this. And the opportunities are endless. And we can talk about that later. But the thing is, we don't have anything to do with the commercial side. Nothing. This is purely for our youth to try to change the problem of educational stagnation and the problem of, you know, a kid today in high school has as much swag at their school, if they're a high-end video player or a really good video game player, than the football player, than the basketball player. They are put up on a pedestal. This is changing everything on its head, all right? And so our foundation, here's what it takes. They comprehend and optimize computers, organize tournaments, think critically, write about technology, utilize data science, understand and engage, analyze, communicate, create streaming content. They are part of a community. We're reaching a kid that's sitting in his basement or his living room and now putting him with other kids in a team, and they're understanding that. Be part of a community. Build your own personal brand. Challenge yourself. Terry worked and was part, she worked at the North Museum in Lancaster as their executive director. But what was really cool about Terry is she was part of the Lancaster STEM Alliance and the Pennsylvania STEM Alliance. And she understood STEM. I didn't even have to spell it, and she knows everything about it. So I was able to attract Terry to come on board, and now I have her associate, James, so that we are going to push this forward. And believe me, not too long, you're going to find some really special stuff about this.
So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about, so we talked about what is eSports. I just want to clarify, eSports is online competitive video game play. So it is in a team environment. So you would be on a team of several other people playing against another team. It does not have to be a sports game, which some people think it has to be. It could be any type of game as long as it's a competitive play. Next slide. Just want to show a little bit on the right here. This is something that the educators have been really interested in. Yes, there are 18-year-olds that are making millions of dollars playing video games. And they do that because they join international teams that pay them, plus there's corporate sponsorship that's involved with that, and as Jeb was talking about earlier, there's something called Twitch, which is a streaming mechanism so that other people can actually watch you play the video games online from the convenience of their own phone or computer. So there's an opportunity here. The scholarships are there, the opportunity to be able to be a part of a club in high school as well as in college, and then to be able to go on that and actually have it as a profession. Next slide. So this is a picture of what the League of Legends World Championship looked like. Packed stadium. This does not include the millions of people that actually watch this online. And last year, our beloved Eagles won the Super Bowl. Can you believe, however, that the number of people watching the League of Legends World Championship was more than the people watching our beloved Eagles win the Super Bowl? I know, we don't want to believe it, but it is true. That's how many people are watching other people play video games. In 2018 alone, the number of minutes spent by other people watching other people play video games, 355 billion minutes. Next slide. So the Samueli Foundation created this program called the North America Scholastic eSports Federation, which is NASEF, and it's about getting to kids where they are. This is about ending education stagnation, like Jeb was saying, but it's really about trying to embrace something that students already love and are doing anyway, and infusing the learning into it. Next slide. So we already know the correlation between sports and learning. This is why we have sports in all of our academic institutions, from all the way up from kindergarten through college. So it's associated with higher GPAs, fosters personal growth, they have a better satisfaction with their school, et cetera. And it also cultivates persistence. But yet, what we were talking about earlier is what the Samueli Foundation has done to be able to really institute and look at investigating eSports with learning. Next slide. So So this is what they came up with. It improves visual acuity and attention, fosters scientific reasoning, accelerating language learning, improves digital and print literacy, increased problem-solving skills. It's associated with higher math achievement and strongly associated with technology influence. Next slide. So this is the mission of that organization, and we're excited at the Emerald Foundation to be a strategic partner in bringing this program to the East Coast. It's really about the opportunity to provide all students this great experience, because it really is inclusive. 41% of the gamers in the United States are female. This reaches all across all socioeconomic barriers, any race, gender, and even including disabilities. It is for everyone to be able to participate, and that's why schools in particular really love this. But it's really to acquire critical communication, collaboration, and problem-solving skills needed to thrive not only in work but also in life. Next slide. This is the ecosystem that he talked about before.
This is a great slide. Shows you the amount of work that's been done by the Samueli Foundation with our support. So go ahead.
Yep. This is also an opportunity for us to utilize career exploration. So these students have very limited access to what types of careers are out there, and as we all know, careers change every day. So what we're trying to do is to identify areas of interest for them in this ecosystem, and then encourage them to be able to connect with mentors in the community to help show them a pathway, and also some of the wonderful things that they can do to be able to look at careers and the future for them. Next slide. There are a lot of program benefits with this. The beauty of this is that it's free for the schools. There are minimum requirements that they need to have for computer equipment, but they have a slew of resources that are available to them, including curriculum for high schools that they are able to use, in addition to be able to partner and have access to a competition where they will play amongst their peers all across North America. And this year, last year we had about 3 teams in Pennsylvania. This semester, we've got 22 teams in Pennsylvania, and we're continuing to grow throughout the East Coast.
This is Constance. I talked to you about her. This woman is off the charts fantastic.
My name is Constance Steinkuhler. I'm a full professor here in informatics, and I study games. My expertise is on social interaction and cognition. My game of choice tends to be player versus player kind of online games. I'm really interested in all of the social interaction and social sort of collaboration and competition that happens in games and then around the games. And we have a lot of different faculty here who are actually working on game-related topics. The connection between eSports and STEM, between eSports and academics generally. Gaming is a very cerebral and smart kind of activity. In their game spaces, they're doing like really high-end theory crafting, they're doing data science. It's a ton of delayed gratification. If you're gonna get good at any of the games, it takes a lot of work, it takes hours of discipline, of play. And so the idea that they're kind of barren intellectually, it's sort of a foolish idea the moment you pick up a title. It takes screen time and it turns it into activity time. In today's kind of climate, we really underestimate how important it is just to play and to do things because they're interesting and fun. It's actually an important part of development.
What we're doing is our core competencies of what you heard Lori talk about. And we have gone to these schools and some of the universities, but that's different. And we are not only wrapping these clubs and setting this up, but some of the schools have come to us and said, can you do this in the morning? Will other schools do this in the morning? Why do they want to do it in the morning? Because these kids haven't eaten since noon the day before. So we're going to wrap feeding programs around that in the morning and then do after-school feeding for the other kids. So we're going to take somebody like Ken and his family's concepts and wrap them into this. Orange County doesn't have that many people that need to be fed, but we do. And the other thing that I just got to emphasize is that if you don't like any and can't get to where I am commercially, trust me on one thing. There will be so many scholarships and so much money given to these kids to go to school, and there is no place really for them to find them except to go to these commercial kind of enterprises, these tournaments. We will be able to foster this and be able to create a bridge to these schools. And we also, the other bridge that we have is to the parents. The parents were like me. I hated my kids playing video games. I didn't understand it. I thought it was stupid. Go out and do something useful. I've become educated.
When Connor came home and said he wanted to be in the eSports club, I almost fell over because I just couldn't believe it. I had been asking him for so long to get involved in the school.
You know, being a gamer myself, it does teach you a lot of skills. It does, I believe, enhance cognitive skills. But most importantly, I see a huge difference in just his overall behavior. His grades have improved significantly over last year. Been drafted to be the captain of his team. It's put him into a leadership position. It's a good challenge for him, and it's a good learning experience for him.
I think one of the benefits of playing these games globally is that, my kid is exposed to something that they would never be exposed to normally. Like, he's got a friend in Russia that he's playing games with all the time. And he's talking about how funny this guy is, and, they're exchanging things about different languages and things. And these are things that he would never be exposed to if he was on a soccer team, for example.
I'd say the most memorable times you have is when you first start playing a game and you meet those friends that kind of teach you how to play when you don't know how to play.
Just embracing gaming and eSports on the campus, getting involved with friends, developing leadership skills, all of those things are just so important, and I wish that other parents would pay attention and get involved, because I feel like it's a wave, and we're right at the crest of the wave.
But it's not just us now figuring it out. And I want to have you watch the spirit of this. And before I show this, we are not only doing those different things, but because of my relationship and David Volpe's relationship with what used to be NHS, which is now Marikey, that work with people that have behavioral health issues, and we're also working with some with physical issues. We want to incorporate those kids into the program. So we're going to do a program first with kids in the spectrum, the old things of autism, Asperger's, or whatever, but quickly integrate them and be on teams, because those kids are fantastic players. Microsoft gets it.
He's gonna do it! You gotta see this! Oh, he's gonna do it! Come on, come on! He's gonna do it! Alright, I'm running. I got him. Nice. Come on. Yeah, let's go! Alright. So how about another game?
My name is Grover.
Sean.
My name is Ian.
I'm Taylor. My name is Owen, and I am 9.5 years old.
So Owen was born with a rare genetic disorder called Escobar syndrome.
He's had 33 surgeries to date.
I love video games, my friends, my family, and again, video games.
It's his way of interacting with his friends when he can't physically otherwise do it.
What I like about the adaptive controller is now everyone can play. You can just say, all right, that's that button, that's that button, that's that button. Perfect.
One of the biggest fears early on is, how will Owen be viewed by the other kids? He's not different when he plays.
No matter how your body is or how fast you are, you can play. It's a really good thing to have in this world.
So in my mind, when everybody plays, we all win, big time. And while these kids were in this commercial, were physically challenged, we have emotionally challenged, we have educationally challenged, we have some learning challenged, but it doesn't matter. And our ability to bring these kids together and give them this opportunity is not anything that I have ever seen, ever, in any endeavor I've ever been involved with. So I apologize for taking your time at an investment conference, but I personally thought it was important, and I hope you could see and help us reach kids, help what's going on. Because as a businessman, that's why I showed you this. If we don't do something like this, we're going to be able, and you saw the changes that are going to take place, we're going to fall behind. I'm already worried, and Kathy made me more worried about China. We got to do something, and this is one way to do it. And thank you for the time.